Welcome back, guys. My name is Alan, and I am with the North Texas Jeep Renegades channel. We're going to be doing a pinch seam mod today, guys. It's not a very common thing to see this done. A lot of people don't really like to share, only because it's an ugly mod, if you will. It's an ugly process. There's a lot of banging and cutting involved, and also painting and grinding. So we're going to walk you through it. Have the vehicle on jack stands, and we've also disassembled the front strut assembly just to kind of make it easier for you guys to see everything and the process of everything also. So we're going to walk you through it. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to take off the wheel liner first. Now, real quick, this Jeep is equipped, or we've actually already modded it in the way that we've already added rock lights. So this is going to be somewhat of a problem, so we're going to try to work our way around this just because we can't disconnect the rock light itself. So anyway, let me go ahead and get started. What you're going to need to remove the actual wheel liner is going to be a 10 millimeter, and then you're also going to need a Phillips bit to remove these Phillips head bolts. So let's go ahead and get started. As far as the 10 millimeter nuts go, they're just plastic nuts. It does not take a lot to get them loose, and actually you can actually do it with just your hand. And you're going to have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. And the rest are going to be Phillips head screws. So let's go ahead and get that. There's one right here. I don't remember if there's one on the bottom. There's not. Alright, and there's going to be 1, 2. I do believe there's one on the bottom. Yes, there is. Right here. Okay. Now you do have a clip that's in here, but we've already removed that, and it's just in here like this, y'all. It's one of these little plastic pins, if you will. So once you do that, you can go ahead and loosen all this up. Take off the little nuts or the bolts. Alright, now this is what I was talking about, that rock light. There's not a lot we can do. I can remove it. All we did was use 2 Phillips head screws, and we attached it to the actual wheel liner itself. So since I already have my drill out here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. So that's 1, and that's 2. Awesome. So at this point, I just need enough space to work the pinch seam. So the pinch seam is right here, and all the pinch seam is whenever they were assembling these chassis together, this is the place that they decided to start welding everything. So this actual seam goes all the way through the entire car from the bottom. This is actually on the bottom side. This is actually where you would bolt on rock sliders, just because it's the stiffest point in the entire car. So, but anyway, what we want to do is make enough clearance for tires. So the way that this is going to work is we're going to essentially just cut slits into this, and then once we're done, we're going to actually bang it to the side. Now, sometimes it's not enough clearance. Sometimes it does require us to actually cut this entire piece off, depending on what size tires. This Renegade is going to have 30.5-inch tires when it's all said and done, so we're going to need a lot of clearance here. So we're actually going to end up cutting most of the stuff off, and also modifying this bracket here, so that way it's not in the way of the tires. But anyway, stay tuned, and we're going to walk you through this.
Alright, so at the top line is about where you're going to want to start. And then you're going to want to go down about 1.5 inches between each cut. until you get down towards the bottom. Now, depending on the size tires that you're going to go with, you may want to just cut off the bottom section down here altogether and go and cut off the 2 brackets right here and right here.
Alright, you guys, so we're actually going to be removing this entire bracket. And it actually is the bracket that holds up this this plastic liner. It's already bent. As you can see, the owner likes to send it quite often, so it's been smashed already in, so he doesn't really need it. And then we're gonna see how we can modify this, because we're not gonna, I don't think we have to remove the entire thing. We're gonna actually be cutting off right here and making this as flat as possible right here, because this is where the actual tire is gonna rub. Pretty good. Alright, you guys, so instead of folding them, we decided that we were going to cut the fins off completely, only because of the tire size that the owner is going to be going with. It's going to be a 30.5 inch, so we want to make as much clearance as possible. It has been an issue before where someone just folds it in and adds a 39.5 inch tire, such as a 245/65 R17, and it still rubs. So a lot of the times you can cure that by simply cutting the actual fins off instead of just folding them down like that. So instead of going through the trouble of trying to fold everything, we decided to go ahead and cut the actual fins off. So again, it's personal preference, but we just didn't want to struggle with it. So now what we're going to end up doing is we're going to bang this flat to get this caved in as much as possible, and then we're going to go back in and try to fill in these holes so that way water does not collect in here. And all we're going to use is silicone. We're going to use silicone because it's flexible. If we use something such as JB Weld, eventually, because the car does vibrate whenever you're driving it, it will just crumble and fall. So we're going to use silicone because of its flexible property, and we're going to go with that and then just paint over it once it's dry. So stay tuned for that.
So we're hammering it in on the actual firewall just for more clearance because of the size tire we're going with. We got to make sure whenever everything's done though to fill all that in and make sure it's all painted really well so it doesn't rust.
Alright guys, so once you get this thing covered and sealed, and again we recommend that you seal up whatever hole is left here, whatever gap is left here, only because if water is going in there, you don't want it to sit in there, and that'll create rust issues down the road and whatnot. So what we did is just use this ultra clear weatherproof sealant, and essentially we made sure that everything was good here. We let it dry, and then we went over it with some self-etching primer because we had exposed metal. This is probably the best primer you can use for that because it really does attach itself to bare metal spots. So anyway, after that you can go over it with a rubberized paint or bed liner. Bed liner is very popular. You don't have to do that because again, if you're going to reuse your wheel liners, it will cover everything up. But at least this way, it's all sealed and protected from the elements.
All right, so once you've primed everything, painted it, sealed up all your cuts, you're going to want to put your fender liners back in. Once your fender liners are back in, you're going to want to mold them so that way they're not pushing up against the tire. Now there's a few different ways you can adjust your fender liners. You can mold them with a heat gun, just heating up the back right here. You could use self-tapping screws and screw your fender liner to the firewall and it will bring it back. Or you can actually cut out, which is what a lot of people do, about right here, just to keep the tire from rubbing as it's turning. Now if you do cut that out, I do recommend that you use some sort of bed liner or some sort of urethane paint just to help protect it, so that way if your tire by some chance does end up rubbing it, it won't cut your tire and it will protect the surface underneath. Once you're done with all that, you're all finished and you're good to go take it out to the trails.